Hey, everybody doing Vermont Gran Fondo on June 28th. This is Coach Greg Wagoner coming to you with a week three briefing for our training plan. Great job so far. If you've been following the plan or making some adjustments to what you're doing to get ready for the plan, or even just started getting ready. In week one, we talked about giving credit to the course, or what are the demands of the event? What are you gonna have to do on event day? And where are you now? So what do we have to do over the next 8 or 9 weeks to get ready for this event? That's what I want you to come away with for the first couple of weeks. So look at the course, visit the course if you have the ability, really make some plans for what you have to do. We also talked about gearing and what gears you have on your bike, or what bike you're going to ride if you have the ability to make a choice. Do you ride the road bike or the gravel bike? So I talked a lot about that last week, and I thought I better afterwards go out and actually ride the hardest gap of the course. So if you're doing the 100-mile course, the Gran Fondo, or the Gran X, which is the 150-mile course, you're gonna do Lincoln Gap, which is the steepest 1 mile, steepest paved 1 mile in the country. Okay, so speaking of giving credit to the course, the rest of them are not so steep. Yes, they're long and they're hard. Yes, but this Lincoln Gap is pretty ridiculously steep. And when you get to it, if your ultimate goal is to not have to get off and walk, you're going to want the easiest gearing that you can fit on your bike. So that requires you to make some choices. If you have the choices, if you have the ability to make some choices, and your goal is to not walk on Lincoln Gap. And again, I'm talking to the folks who we want to make this a successful event. If you've done this before and you know what you're doing, great. You're in good shape. Help me out. Put some tips up in the Facebook group, post them here in YouTube, share your successful tips. But for us folks who just want to have a successful event, meaning, yeah, I would love to increase my chances of riding Lincoln Gap and doing so and feeling good about it, a 1-to-1 gear ratio is a good place to start. So I did say that last week. I actually went out and rode Lincoln Gap on Thursday, so just a few days ago. And yes, it was raining. So yeah, I did it in the rain. It was cold, and that's gave me a good reference, because my road bike has a 34 front chainring and a 35, I think a 35 front chainring and a 36 cog in the rear cassette. So close to a 1-to-1, a little bit easier than a 1-to-1. And I'll give you some numbers here. It took me about 17 minutes to get up this 1 mile. Average 287 watts, and average cadence was 63. So a slow cadence, high power. I'm 150 some pounds, and hopefully that gives you a little bit of reference to. It was hard. It was all I had. I had to stand up. Probably would stand up for a minute, sit for a minute, stand up for a minute, sit for a minute. It was all I had to complete that. I wanted an easier gear. Let's put it that way. If I had an easier gear, I could have had a little bit higher cadence, kept the bike moving a little bit easier. I'm going to try it again on my gravel bike. For the event, I will probably ride my road bike. I'm confident I can do that. But if your overall goal is to ride Lincoln Gap and the others, you want to have the easiest gearing. And if you have the choice, maybe a gravel bike gives you easier gearing to do so. My gravel bike has a 40 in the front and a 46 in the back. So 40, 46, a little bit easier than gearing than my road bike. So if you want help with that, reach out. I'm happy to answer questions. I did have a couple questions on it, and it seems like y'all are thinking about it right now, which is what the point is. So hopefully that is helpful. Give a real good dose of credit to what that hill is, that particular hill, as well as the other three. They're not as steep, like I said, or the other 5 if you're doing all 6 gaps. Again, we want to increase the chances for success. And if you don't have the ability to make those choices, well, then it could be that you're probably gonna walk some of Lincoln Gap, And a good question was, well, then what about wearing some mountain bike shoes versus road bike shoes or gravel shoes compared to road bike shoes? If you have that ability, you will be much happier in stepping out of your bike and climbing, walking with mountain bike shoes or gravel shoes and SPD pedal cleats, or walking up Lincoln Gap in road bike shoes will not be a very fun experience. So think about that. If that's an opportunity for you, then I advise you to take it. My road bike is set up with mountain bike pedals, and so I could wear my mountain bike shoes for the event, and that's my plan. So just wanted to touch base, and then also a rain jacket came in very handy for me. It did start to rain, or it was raining when I started. When you go up, you'll be sweating. When you come down, you will be cold, and not just that gap, but the others as well. So you probably will want to look at the weather and everything, but you will want to have a windbreaker if it's not going to rain, or a rain jacket if it's going to be wet. You'll be happy. When you go downhill, it gets cold. So we'll talk about descending skills later, but what about the training? Good job, you guys. Hopefully you're getting into the swing of things as far as getting your own training going, and realizing that a progressive nature to your training plan is what needs to happen. And therefore, we probably need to take a look at the Training Peaks calendar, right? So hopefully you can see my screen right here, and I have week 2. This is what I asked for before for last week. This would have been just a few days ago. Did y'all do an FTP test or a hill climb test? And if you did, if you're riding with a power meter, go ahead and tuck this number away. And if you're riding with a power meter, you probably have the ability to set up zones based on this 20-minute number, but that's kind of beyond what we're talking about now. I want you to talked about getting the feeling. What did this 20 minutes feel like? And tuck that away, okay? Also get a reference, a landmark reference. We used to do this in Central Park in New York City. We would ride for 20 minutes and get to that park bench or that tree. And I've done it here. Actually, I did it on Middlebury Gap, which is part of the course. I did it, and 20 minutes. How far could I get in 20 minutes? So it's a good test. And so use it to set up your training zones. Yes, great. But use it to set up your feeling. That's your race pace. Sorry, that's not your race pace. That's your threshold pace. And you want to stay away from that threshold pace as much as possible in a long event like a Gran Fondo. You want to stay underneath, or a lighter intensity than that intensity. But that all being said, to build on last week, you did some tempo, and we did Tuesday was a tempo, a zone 3 type of structure. We're gonna bump that up. So if you look at the workouts that I have for this week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday are key workouts. Okay, they have some intensity to them and some structure that might be helpful to building your fitness between now and event day. This is called power sweet spot. So you'll do 2 minutes right at that threshold power, and then 18 minutes just below that threshold power, 90%. And again, if you're using a power meter, yes, you can get right in there and fine tune every pedal stroke if you have that ability. If not, I do want you to go by feeling. 2 minutes all out for what it would be. Make it feel like your 20-minute test. Okay, so not all out for 20 minutes, because you could exhaust yourself in 2 minutes. All out like that 20-minute exertion, and then 18 minutes just below. So it is another 20-minute effort, and it should be doable because this is 90%. You'll repeat that 2 times with a 5-minute break in between, and then fill in the rest. If you're doing an hour and a half, that leaves you about 11 minutes to do an endurance effort. But if you're doing longer rides, you can fill that in with 30 minutes or 40 minutes or no minutes if it's a shorter rep. But that is the structure, the main set of the workout on Tuesday. And that's really the main set of the week. That, and then on Thursday. So here, let's go day by day. Um, I like just a long endurance ride on Wednesday, so a zone two type of thing, or we call it endurance, not really a zone two, but make it feel like endurance, or 60 to 70% of what your threshold effort felt like. Okay, makes sense. Give it three little 30-second pops, kind of right at the end of your warm up. I like to activate the upper intensities without really training them. 30 seconds hard ought to do it. 30 seconds hard, 30 seconds easy. Repeat that 3 times and then start your long endurance. An hour and a half is probably good. Again, this is not for me to say, here's what needs to be done. This is for me to give guidance and you to make your own decisions about what's going to work for you. All right. Main set for Thursday's ride are these big gear intervals. Okay. I just told you I did that Lincoln Gap for 17 minutes at an average cadence of 63. So if you're practicing these tempo efforts at 45 to 75 RPMs, aim for the lower side. You're going to be happy when you get to Lincoln Gap, especially. So these are 5 minutes at a low cadence, and then just take 30 seconds to recover. 5 minutes, 30 seconds to recover. Repeat that 5 times. Okay. And this is in zone three or tempo, which is easier than sweet spot, which you did on Thursday. So 83 to 93% of that threshold. And again, I'll have these structures written up in my blog, and you can follow them along, look them over. So you'll repeat that whole process. 5 minute efforts, tempo, low cadence. Repeat that 2 times, adds up to about an hour and a half workout for key workout number 2. Saturday, then I did make up this structure, and you can really make up your own. Think about what the workout entails. So I have the activations that I talked about. They're 30 seconds hard, 30 seconds easy, 3 of them. I have this power sweet spot or power FTP, but it's 10 minutes altogether. Okay, so you'll go hard, light threshold, and then sweet spot to threshold. Make it kind of like you're on the limit here for about 10 minutes, with a hard minute at the beginning and at the end. Throw in some endurance. I put in some sweet spot like you did on Tuesday, so a good 20-minute effort, but not like your test. Okay, it should be doable. Should not cause you to abandon the ride or anything, abandon the effort. It should be manageable. And that's sometimes where we get thrown off by using power meters, because you expect to be right at a certain power number, but you might not have that power number as your sweet spot or tempo for that day. Some fatigue might have set in for whatever reason. If you go by feel, it's usually right. All right. Maybe you're getting the gist of things. You can fill in with endurance, and then I have 3 5-minute efforts. This is another opportunity to ride tempo to sweet spot, 50 to 60 RPMs, 5 minutes. Pretend like you're climbing a very steep hill for 5 minutes. If you're indoors, you can do it. You can crank up the resistance. If you're outside, yeah, it's hard to do if you're on a flat or you go over a hill, but maybe plan out a route where you can do these 3 5-minute intervals up a hill. Again, throw in some endurance, and then give me 2 good 45-second all-out efforts. These are just really activations to keep all energy systems awake and working. And this is a good. So you can use this structure exactly. And again, it'll be written out in the blog so that you can use it, or take a screenshot of it, and or you can make up your own. Use the terrain around where you live to make up this type of workout. But 3 hours is not unreasonable, and then another 3-hour endurance ride. Nothing too special about that one. Here, I'll just show you the structure. Is really just kind of gradually increasing, but still very manageable. Able to carry on a conversation, able to breathe in and out through your nose. You might feel like, hey, this is really too easy. Yeah, it should feel that way. We're not trying to cause fatigue that day. You still get adaptations from pedaling and not causing fatigue. Same thing with Wednesday. You should not feel like you are work. You should feel like you're working pretty easy. And then just to get a little bit bigger picture, last week I had 9:15 hours. This week is 10 and a half hours. Okay. We're working on sweet spot and tempo. Last week was tempo and a test. So the intensity, if you know anything about TSS, just to quantify the 451 for the week, and this week is a 549. But look at the time overall. Spend more time on your bike. Focus on the dynamic. You're working hard, you're working medium, you're working easy. And each day has a specific intent. All right. The next week, then we'll build up to 12 hours and then up to 12 and a half hours. And then it will be time to take a pullback week, a recovery, let it all sink in. Fueling. I want to talk about fueling because, man, I get so many questions about electrolytes and fueling, and they are two very different things. So that's one concept is calories versus electrolytes. So electrolytes are meant to help hydration and meant to help. Well, that's part of hydration. Okay, separately, your body, your muscles run on glucose. They run on sugar, and we need to consume. Or in a 10-hour ride, you absolutely need to consume some carbohydrates, glucose, sugar, in order to help you get through the event. Now, there are rest stops along, and I'm not sure what is available there, but you need to get a fueling strategy, not only for event day, but for your long rides. This weekend, if you're doing a 3-hour workout on Saturday and then the same thing on Sunday, you need to consume calories while you're eating. How much? Great question. 90 grams of carbohydrates per hour is a great place to think about getting to. I say it that way because if this is the first time you're going to fuel during a ride, you don't want to start there. You want to start with 30 grams per hour on your ride. What does that mean? All right. Specific products. I've tried many of them. And where I'm at right now is simple sugar. I put table sugar in my water. I measure it out. On a hard day, I put 90 grams and I measure out for 90 grams to add to my water for each hour. And you can do the same. Again, you're not starting there, you're doing it 30 grams. Now, there are many other products, Scratch, many others. Go to thefeed.com and they have many other products that are made just for this. Here in Vermont, we like maple syrup. You can pull out a packet of untapped maple syrup in a variety of flavors and slam that once an hour, but that's not quite enough. If you look at it closely, it's about 100 calories, or even if it's only 120 calories, that's about 30 grams. Okay. 1 gram has 4 calories. So if it's 120 calories, that's about 30 grams. That's not enough if you had one of those every hour for a 10-hour event. Think about it. In 10 hours, you're going to get hungry anyway and need to have a meal. So hopefully you're going to take advantage of some of the food at one of the rest stops, or have a sandwich along the way. But every hour just for riding, you need to have some carbohydrates. And we need to get a feeling of, again, where you are right now and how you want to get there. You actually have to train your gut to be able to accept 90 grams per hour. So this is the homework I'm giving you is what can you tolerate this weekend on your long rides? What have you been doing? And where do we need to get to if 90 is the number? Okay. I'm hoping that there are a lot of questions and discussions about that. Veterans of this event, please help me out and post up what your fueling strategy has been for this event. What has worked, what has not. Maybe I can start a discussion in the Facebook group and get that going. But my specific fueling plan will be to try for 90 grams of sugar per hour and then supplement with an additional packet of syrup or something like that. I know it's a lot of sugar, and most of us would be like, what is he talking about? But while you're riding, that sugar goes right to working muscles. It does not cause the insulin spike and all of the bad trouble that you get into if you were to consume that much sugar or even fraction of that while being sedentary. So we are endurance athletes. It's a different story. All right, so that's my fueling strategy. Let's just recap a little bit. Fueling is going to be super important. Hydration is also important. We can talk about that in a little bit. Hopefully, y'all have a hydrating system as well, but we can talk about that in a future video. Hydration and electrolytes, two very separate things. If you put electrolytes in your water, that is not fueling, that is hydration. If you put calories in your water, then you're talking about both. Okay, hopefully that is helpful to some of you. We talked about the workout plans and we recapped last week. The gearing ratio is going to be very important if your goal is to climb Lincoln Gap and the other gaps on top of your bike instead of walking next to it, which hopefully we can make some adjustments on bikes and make that happen for at least a number of you. All right. Again, I'm Coach Greg Wagoner. This is week 3 of our 9-week plan, and we're counting down the weeks to Vermont Gran Fondo on June 28th. All right. Thanks, everybody.